What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about checking the basics on your car. So I made that top 7 mistakes people make video. You can watch it right here. But this kind of stems from that because some people may not actually know how to check the basics to keep your car well maintained. So this is just going to be showing some people that may be a little bit insecure with that. Checking the basics that I'm going to show you is actually one of the easiest things. It'll take you maybe 5 minutes most. And it's not something that has to be done a lot. I would say I do it maybe once a month, but it should be done at least every couple months or seasonally for sure. And today we're going to be using the new Sierra for the video because it has a few more gauges and features and things like that that you can check, and it's a little more practical. It's a little bit something people see it like every day all the time, as opposed to my car. It might just throw people off the way my car is. They might not understand it the same. Now, not always have to happen at the same time. These are things that you can do, one when you get gas and one, you know, when you unlock your car in the morning, and other times throughout the day, but I'm just going to show you them all at once because that's kind of how I like to do it, just to make sure everything's running smoothly all at the same time. And number one is going to be kind of a silly one, but check where you park. So if you park in the same place every day, so if I park this truck in the same place right here on the driveway every day, and I wake up in the morning and I pull my truck back and just check where it was parked, and I see something like that, I know that's not good. Or even if you see something like this, that looks like coolant leaked all over the place. So right off the bat, you know, check underneath the car because there's probably a leak. Something's probably not right underneath the car. Now that's from the old truck. The old truck had a lot of problems and we solved them by getting rid of it and getting a new one. But when you back the truck up and you see that there's a big puddle of something on the ground, chances are you're leaking something from underneath your car. Which unfortunately isn't something that you may be able to fix yourself, but it's good to know because then you can take it somewhere and say, hey, I have a leak. So second thing we're going to be doing is checking your lights. Now, people think that they have to have a buddy with them or someone with them to do this when you actually really don't. Something that I do is when I'm in traffic and I pull up behind a car, I just look at my car and the reflection. So do I see my running lights on? If it's nighttime, do I see both my lights on? And like if I haven't had a good turn signal check in a while, sometimes I'll even just put my turn signals on when like I'm stopped at the lights just to see it in the reflection of the other car and like know what my car looks like and what's working and what's not working. It's really easy to do, and it's just simple things that people don't usually pay attention to, like what their car looks like when they pull up behind the next one. I'm sure lots of you car guys will know exactly what I'm talking about, but there's probably a lot of people who don't do that, and that's something that you definitely should do. But in terms of just straight out checking what lights work, it's as easy as coming inside the vehicle. You're going to turn your lights to on. So now all your lights are on. You'll probably have something start dinging at you, letting you know that all your lights are on, but that's okay. That's the point for now. And then you're just going to get out. And we're going to walk around the front of the truck. And basically what we're going to be looking for is this headlight on, and in our case, this is the little LED ring around the lights, and we're going to be making sure both of those are on. So you may just have one singular headlight that does both, but just make sure that something is on. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but we are looking fine here, and these are all lit up around, and even the side marker lights are lit up. And if you go to the other side, we're seeing all the same. And then what I like to do is just do a turn signal check while you're at it, lock and unlock your car. As long as you see all your lights flash, you're good to go. And it's going to be the exact same thing for the back lights. So in my case, on my car, I have 2 separate lights. So this is my brake light, and this is my turn signal light. So when I hit the brakes, only this light comes on, and my like nighttime rear running light is this light, but the turn signal is this one. So that's a little bit separate. But when it comes to vehicles like the truck, there's 2 lights that are on in the daytime, and they both flash for your turn signal. So easiest way to check these, so all the lights are still on from inside, and you can tell that this light bulb's on and these 2 are on, and then just do the same thing as the front. Unlock it, you see them both flash, and you know that both the high and the low beam are working, meaning that the running light and your brake light are going to both work. Now the only thing that you might need a buddy for is to check your reverse lights. What I like to do is I just back into my driveway sometimes and I kind of look in the mirror and look, and if I can see the reverse lights on, then I know that they're working because they're not very bright. Reverse lights aren't really meant to light everything up, they're just meant to let everybody else know that you're backing up. So if you can see the lights, then that definitely means that they're working. But if you have a buddy available, it's something that you may think of, and lots of other people's cars too. When you turn them off, all the lights stay on so you can check them. So I think even this truck might do it. If you turn the truck on and you're driving it, and then you turn it off, all the lights stay on for about 30-40 seconds, which gives you a chance to walk out and make sure that both reverse lights are lit up. And our last check would be high beams. Really easy at nighttime, just flick them on, and if your lights get way brighter, then your high beams are both working. So checking your lights is a lot easier than everybody makes it seem. Turn on your lights, walk outside, lock and unlock your car, make sure all the lights light up. As long as they all light up, you're good to go. Now thing number 2 that you want to check is your tires. Now I believe that every car in the history of vehicles, if you open your door jamb, or if you open your door and check your door jamb, either somewhere on the actual door, but usually on the door sill, you'll find your tire pressures. And now it's literally in the door jamb or door sill on every car that exists. Every car in my driveway, every car I've ever seen has tire pressures right here. So if you don't know what your tire pressures are supposed to be, open your door. So if we look at the pressures for the truck, the front and the rear are both supposed to be 35 psi. Now that's pretty simple stuff. If you don't have a way to fill your tires at your house, I personally have a compressor, but if you don't, if you go to like the gas station to fill your tires, they should have a gauge built in to the machine so that when you're putting air in your tires, you can see what it's at, so you'll never overfill it if you go by the door. Now checking your tire pressures is something that you're going to want to do most often because especially with fluctuating temperatures like colder and hotter days, like changing seasons for instance, your tire pressure is going to change a lot. But as you can see right here, we're at 36, which is fine. That's probably what they were set to on purpose because it's only 1 psi over. So basically just check all 4, make sure they're all within the realm of what your door says. And 1 or 2 psi is really not a big deal. It's when you have one that's like 30 and the other one's 40, and that's when it becomes kind of more of a problem. But while you're down here checking your tire pressures, just look at your tires. Do they look fine? Do they look normal? Do they look like they did when they got put on your car? The thing that you should always do is when you get something put on your car, when you get a new car, get familiar with it. So is this what your tire looked like when your tire was brand new? And if so, then you should be fine. Just look at your treads, make sure there's still got lots of tread left. And something to learn is that every once in a while you'll see this little band that goes across the whole tire in between the grooves, right across the whole tire. And that's called your tread wear bar. So if you ever look at your tires and that bar is almost level with the actual tread on the tires, it is time to get tires that day. That's really bad, and that lets you know that like your tires are on their last limb. And that's definitely a time that you should change them up. So like I talked about with getting familiar with your tires and stuff that is on your vehicle, you should also get familiar with your gauges. So if you have a gauge, it's for a reason. My car doesn't have a battery gauge and it doesn't have temperature gauges because it's really not important on that car, because for what it's used for, those things don't really matter. And that's why we took the truck, because look at all them gauges. So battery gauge. Know what your battery should be at. And if you see that gauge get low, check your battery. That's your temperature. Your temperature is probably going to sit right in the middle. It usually does. The lower the better. But if you ever see it climbing up to that red line, like, it's time to get something checked. If your temperature gets really high, that probably means you're overheating, and that is something to know. Your gas gauge, I'm not going to explain that. And this over here is your oil pressure. So your oil pressure is going to vary. If you have a big trailer, you're towing something, or you're really flooring it, it's going to get a little bit higher. But if you notice your oil pressure is climbing, and getting very, very high, you probably should get someone to look at that because it's not normal for the oil pressure to go all the way around. Most gauges are designed to kind of sit right in the middle. So that one should kind of sit in the middle, this one should kind of sit in the middle, and this one should kind of sit in the middle. And if you're climbing up on this gauge, good on you, because you're just having a damn good time. And last but not least, know what's going on under your hood. There's a few things like checking your air filter and your cabin air filter that I don't really do. I leave that for the shop. But what you are going to want to know under there is a few things. Your washer fluid, yes, your car may have a light, but if it's in the winter or something like that, it's better to have more than run out while you're in the middle of a drive. Your oil, your coolant, and for me, your brake fluid. I think that that's very important because it's you can't stop. What are you gonna do? So this is your coolant. It's always gonna be some funny orange, green, weird color that isn't normal. But if you check your manual, it'll tell you exactly what it should be at and what coolant you should use to fill it. But if you look here, that says full, and it's right on the full line, so we know coolant's good. And if it's not good, read your manual. There will be a specific kind of coolant that your car needs. Coolant is not like oil. You can't just put the same coolant from my car and this car and that car. It doesn't work that way. You need to get the right coolant for your car because they all use a coolant a little bit differently. So next is your brakes, and yeah, it's usually fine. Brakes are something that I find I've never really found problems with, but it's good to check nevertheless. And your brake fluid is always going to be right by your brake booster. So that big round thing in the back is a brake booster, and your brake fluid's always going to be right by it. And again, just make sure that that's your max, that's your minimum. Just give it a quick peek and make sure it's right there. Now, washer fluid in this truck doesn't have a dipstick, but the washer fluid in my car actually has a dipstick, so you can check how much washer fluid you have just like you can check your oil, which I find very handy. And finally, we're going to check the oil. So your dipstick depends on your car. Mine's back here. You're going to take it out, clean it off once so that it's fresh, because when you drive around it sloshes around a bit. So you want to make sure that it's fresh. Sorry, I'm really short, it's hard to reach in here. Put it back in, pull it back out, and give it a look. So normally there will be an area like in this one where it's got this little pattern on it, or there will be a line that says like full, empty kind of thing. So you just want to make sure it's in that range. And if your oil like this is kind of clear, well, it's not clear, it's like yellowy, browny, but it's like opaque, you can see through it. But if you ever take this out and your oil is black on that stick, you should get it checked, because that's not supposed to happen. And if you're ever low on oil, you can literally just read the cap right here and it'll tell you exactly what kind of oil you need. So in this case, this truck takes 0.20. Now it's that easy. Now that does not take as long as it did for me to explain it all to you guys. It literally takes this long. Come in here. Okay, my coolant level's up. My brake fluid levels are good. Pull this out, wipe it, put it back in, pull it out, check it, it's good, put it back in. And don't forget to top up your washer fluid. But that took me like 30 seconds. You just gotta know what you're looking for, and it makes it very easy. Same with your tires. Come down, check your pressure, look at your treads. Easy stuff. Your gauges, just know what you're looking at. The most tedious one's gonna be your lights, and that's because everybody has their own way of kind of going about looking at your lights. So that really takes no time at all. It's just things that you really should do to maintain your car and make sure your car stays well maintained and extend the life of it. They're just things that people really put off or ignore, and they think it's a lot harder than it is. But really, if you're a car guy like me, you get it, because we just do this second nature. But if you don't do these things as often as you should, try it out, because it really will extend the life of your car, your tires, and everything else. If you guys like today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I do videos like this all the time, and I'm gonna start getting into some more types of videos. So hopefully you guys learned something today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.